The poetry vlog. Today we have our first guest, Abby. Abby, do you want to introduce a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name's Abby. I'm a poet. Live here in Seattle.
No, Abby and I met at the UW Seattle. She came out of the MFA program. She does a lot of work with Open Books, which is actually like the only poetry bookstore, I think, in Seattle.
It's the only one in Seattle, and it's one of 4 poetry-only bookstores in the country.
It's incredible. I've actually had students who get kind of into poetry, and then they go to Open Books and they leave obsessed with poetry.
It's a magical place.
It's a pretty cool place. And plus, because it's poetry only, you find books you wouldn't find anywhere else. So it's kind of a rare bookstore experience. Mm-hmm. And it's in a very Portland-esque neighborhood, so it's kind of weird in the best way.
It is, a little bit. Yeah, it's really
It captures Portland, in my opinion, whenever I go in. Actually, we haven't talked about that. I was in Portland for 3 years for my MFA before this. All right, so today, here's the outline. We're going to do a couple quick updates because we're still documenting the process of creating this vlog. Thanks for bearing with me. And then Abby has generously agreed to both read from a poet she adores as well as from her own manuscript. I'm going to read from her manuscript as well. I'm also going to talk it up because I think it's fucking awesome. And then she's going to tell you a little bit about making the manuscript or whatever I happen to ask her because I can be a little bit of whimsy. And then we're going to talk about memorization of poems. And I might insert some weaving in of my religious background because why not?
Why not? Let's do it.
All right. So first of all, updates. I have a Facebook page coming soon. I don't have one yet. It's coming soon. So when I have that together, I'll link in the description below. Either I'll make the Facebook page today and tomorrow, and then I'll upload this and it'll be linked, or vice versa. So stay tuned. There's that update coming. And then I want to piggyback on the updates I posted last time. So we're going to have a daily reading for 2 minutes from poems in the podcast. The podcast is now available on Spotify. Among other places, but Spotify's like the one everyone has, right? iTunes is still deciding if it'll accept it or not because I use the word pussy. So if you want to write iTunes and tell them that's not profanity or it shouldn't be, feel free to do that because I think that's really sexist and messed up. And that's pretty much it for updates this time. There's otherwise not a whole lot that's new. So we'll just launch in. We're going to keep this at 10 to 20 minutes, so it'll be short for you. I'm going to start by talking about Abby's manuscript. I finished reading it this week. I've been taking notes on it. And something I want to say, get ready to feel embarrassed, is that I love how sound-centered and image-centered it is without being the usual MFA industrial reproduction of sounds and images. So there were many times when I'd read a stanza and I'm like, I have no idea what this means whatsoever. But I love it. And I'd reread it, and I'd reread it, and I'd reread it. And I would say that's the pinnacle of poetry, when you don't get it intellectually, but emotionally you get it.
Thank you.
And that's how I felt with yours. I would also say that there's this really interesting mix of like eco-poetics meets feminist poetics meets like romantics, the romantics.
Capital R.
Capital R, except not the usual like white dick party that the romantics are, as well as like some interesting mixing in of the epic form. Like, I felt like there was this, like, origin story that kept being told. I also read there's, like, these scenes of the water and the ocean, the city, the forest, and the body kind of coming out of those places. So it's really gorgeous. There's incredibly lush language. And if you tuned into the Carla Kelsey,
yeah.
post before this, I totally see the influence, FYI. I was like, oh, I get Abby's, like, MO now.
She's been, like, very influential in my own work. So if you like that post...
Perfect.
Go find her book and read it.
It's incredible, but also Abby's manuscript is incredible. And I would say that they echo with each other. We're going to talk more on Thursday about why I'm so stoked on poems that don't make sense, but are still like making sense emotionally. But today we're going to turn more to Abby. So, Abby, let's start by doing the readings. I've been working on starting with text first and then discussion, which is not my impulse. I tend to like wax poetic and then be like, oh yeah, here's the thing. So we'll start there. I'll read a poem from it and then you'll read a poem from it and we'll talk a little bit about it. And then maybe we'll end on a poem that you've been digging yourself outside of either of our work.
That sounds great.
Okay, so I'm going to read from about the middle of the manuscript, Preservation Tactics. Right, and I'm going to show you guys how it looks. Is that cool?
Yeah, please.
Ding, ding. There we go. All right, Preservation Tactics. Orange, how it festers. A stomach digesting itself into plantoons of orange trees, orange leaves. You count crevices of your palms, secret ferns, nothing but a pithy city. I'm dreaming about landscapes I've never seen, a node of chrysanthemums blooming into fever, a city built of bodies, bodies of ferns. The ferns are whispering orange, shifting for the humidity of the shelled soil like palms, hundreds of palms building cities like handprints, an orange plucked, a fester, a fist. We eat dead things to stay alive. So that's preservation tactics. I love it.
Thank you.
All right, and then actually I'm going to mix up what we already did down.
Okay.
Why don't you read it too, so people can hear how I read it versus how you read it.
Interesting.
And then you can read your other poem.
Okay, that sounds great.
Cool.
Here we go.
All right, do it.
Okay, preservation tactics. Orange, how it festers. A stomach digesting itself into platoons of orange trees, orange leaves. You count crevices of your palms, secret ferns, nothing but a pithy city. I'm dreaming about landscapes I've never seen, a node of chrysanthemums blooming into fever, a city built of bodies, bodies of ferns. The ferns are whispering orange, shifting for the humidity of the shelled soil like palms, hundreds of palms, building cities like handprints. An orange plucked, fester, fist. We eat dead things to stay alive.
Whew. I love that poem.
Thank you.
It so does it for me.
Oh.
It also works that we happen to be sitting in some incredibly warm, humid space right now.
There is a bit of like a
this
humid,
is totally spot
fester.
on. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, my hair's getting real big. We're dripping in sweat.
But it's great.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous. And I want to note for any of my students that are watching, this is an example of a poem with spaces in the lines. I know a lot of you really love that and love to do that. And I want to give kudos to Abby, because if you're looking at the poem while she's reading it, you totally lean into like the ends of each line as well as the spaces within the lines.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, the line can do a lot of breath work, you know? So even if you're not pausing or reading at the end of a line, if you want to build that breath in the poem, I feel like space is a way to kind of control a little bit of the reader's momentum and how they're breathing in the poem, because the breath is just as important as the sound.
Yes.
I would argue.
Yes, I would
Cool.
too.
Great.
Actually, will you do me a favor? Feel
Yeah.
free to just, hack it and make up as you go.
Yeah.
How do you see the spaces within the lines functioning?
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll also preface this by saying a long time ago when I was starting out, I was really against spaces and lines. I felt it was like really, I just couldn't do it. And something broke, and then I was just like, break it out, use the page.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I feel like the first space here, I'll kind of like hold this up and I'll talk through it so everyone can see it.
That'd be
okay,
great.
great. So I feel like you have, how am I looking at this? Sorry.
It looks backwards for us, FYI, video viewers.
I'm like, how does my
it'll
hand work?
flip. It'll totally flip when
Great.
it goes.
Okay. So we have, I guess in the first moment, we have in the second line, digesting itself, break into platoons. And I feel like that pause there, it gives you a chance to breathe, but it also gives you a chance to digest a little bit. So it's the breath, the space there is kind of forcing the reader to do the work that the semantic meaning is also doing.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to what you were saying before about how sound, you might not know exactly what's going on in poems throughout the manuscript, which is fair, working on it.
Yeah.
But those sounds can do work.
I actually like that about it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
There's a balance. There, it's something to work on.
Yeah.
But I think that the space can also do that similar kind of work, where you have like the visual layer of reading as well as the semantic meaning of the words as well as what the sound is doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect.
So we have the digestion, and then we keep going. Oh, right. There we oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We have the digestion. We have the next stanza break, kind of changing the thought, giving a little bit of time to breathe. And then the same thing kind of happens again. You get to, you count crevices of your palm, secret ferns, nothing, blank.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Just, if you're watching right now, it's about to switch over, and I have an image of the poem coming up.
Wow, that sounds great.
Video editing, I learned it this week.
Love
so
that.
you'll all see what she's talking about. So go ahead and keep going.
So do you want me to not hold?
You can hold it up too if you want.
Okay.
It's up to you. But yeah, we're going to have the image pop up now.
Great. Go. So we have nothing here, and we actually have the word nothing, and then we have the space nothing. So it reinforces the idea that there's an absence. There is something that is nothing, and that is missing here. And it gives the reader a chance to think about or pause what that is before the poem tells you, but it's nothing but, you have this absence, and it's just a pithy city here.
Also, pithy city sounds gorgeous.
Thank you. It's a fun one. Pithy city. Pithy city.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love it.
assonance, right? The vowels.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
There's a vocabulary
Cool.
word for poets.
Viewers,
who read them. Yeah. And then the only time this happens in the poem is that the entire line actually starts all the way over. So visually,
That I'm dreaming.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So visually, when you're reading on the page, a lot of times a reader's eyes, especially in the digital plane, but on text as well, you kind of have an E or an F foundation where you read all the way over and then your eye moves back and then it keeps going. And so this is a chance where, because but a pithy city, it trails you, your eye can drop, but also if you end up scanning all the way back over, you're left with still of that nothing space, that dream space. So I feel like it gives a chance for the reader of the poem hopefully to connect with the speaker of the poem and experience that kind of ethereal absence that's in question here.
Yeah. I love that.
Cool.
And that was actually my favorite moment of the poem and why I picked the poem. And now we're back to watching each other talk.
Okay.
But when I got to like the I'm dreaming is when I felt like I could breathe, you know? And I was like, there was like a moment of like, I'm dreaming. And because the line breaks there, I was like, yes, like we are in that moment dreaming with you. And I really loved that.
Thanks.
All right.
I also wanted that space to function a little bit as a pivot in the poem.
Right.
Because you have nothing but a pithy city, I'm dreaming. So you could be dreaming with relation to that pithy city, but then you also can be dreaming about landscapes, which is where syntactically the sentence itself picks up.
And what's syntax for viewers that don't know what syntax is?
Syntax is almost the grammatical structure of a line. So it's how the nouns are functioning, how the verbs are functioning, where the puzzle of grammar fits together.
Good. Perfect.
Cool.
All right, read us another poem.
Awesome. Yeah.
And you were going to read the next one, right? So that was Preservation Tactics.
Yes. Very good, thank you.
Yep.
So in the current state of this manuscript, which is in flux, the next poem in order is called Particular Reminders, and I'll hold it up a little bit so you can see part of it, but it does play also, again, with space, with where the lines start, where the words continue, etc.
And do you mind if I do another one where they can see the poem?
No problem.
Okay, cool.
That sounds great. Cool. So here is Particular Reminders. When dusty purple fruits breathe in the sunsets and smog of their cityscapes, that's the answer. Stems twining up splintering poles and fence posts and abandoned pianos is gesture of hurry and freeze. Who makes this body what it is? What makes this body what it's made of? Is question of record and fist and pluck and palm and squeeze and pluck and skip and ooze. With such silhouettes, what gets left when lights enter the room? Their bursted juices all over an unsuspecting wrist. All over city corners, stretch, hold. Veins vine a map of smoke and defiance, throats in yellow light. Flick away dust from the skin you've seen before, unbidden orbits, the body wrapped and unwrapped. It's not a question of streets or piano keys. It's not a question to fill veins with feathers, and wrapped and unwrapped. When these wrappings strip themselves into collage of gummed muscle, merrily melting into pinking bone, here's a question. Is the body swallowed in fabric to hide or to hold it? Along the fence line, the headiness of plums, in shadow, in recline. Lean into it. Intertwine vines like veins, like chain link on the backs of the hands. To hold hands to themselves, keep them hidden. To breathe, keep lungs taut and trembling. To go, don't ask questions of the city you can't answer.
I also loved that one. I was so excited that you picked it. Our battery's low, so we're going to be... And we're at 14 minutes already.
Wow.
Holy shit. All right, so we're going to be real quick.
Okay.
Anyway, something that you do in this poem, and I'm just going to have it flip in the screen so you can see it yourself,
Cool.
right? Why don't you talk about, or if you don't mind talking about, the italicized portions? Because a lot of folks watching this might be kind of like new to writing poems, might be curious about how you're intentional in using space on the page and like changing the font around.
Cool. I will start that by giving a little bit of context to the origin of this poem. It started when I was an artist in residence for the Alice Gallery, which is an art gallery in Georgetown. It's a cool spot. You should check it out. They have really great shows, and I was there, and I was sitting, writing in the art. And so I would go and I would sit in this gallery and write towards the art, be inspired by the art. And this is a poem that kind of came out of some of the free writing that I did while I was sitting there. And so the use of italics here captures for me a few different voices. You have the speaker describing the landscape of the city, some of this festering that's happening within the city itself, and then you also have the internal voice of question. So what's happening, what the speaker is seeing, and then what the speaker is thinking about and considering. And so I think you get that kind of vocal play within the poem.
And then a second question I have for you.
Sure.
I love how in Abby's poems you might have noticed the rhythm is really clear. Like it's easy, it's almost difficult for me to not physically move with the sound of it, right? So like you have pinking bone. Here's a question: is the body swallowed in fabric to hide or to hold it, right? And you want to like, there's so much tension there that you move with. Can you, this is a very big question and kind of mean to ask because I don't know how I'd answer if I were the writer, but can you talk about finding that like rhythmic quality that moves the body into the poem a little bit? Because I'm trying to learn how to teach rhythm better, and this is part of it. Like there's a cadence to this, or a cadence. My boyfriend's going to kill me for saying cadence. Not really. There's a cadence to it that is just like very affective. Like your body wants to move with it. Can you talk about that?
I really appreciate that, and I'm glad that you're picking up on that because I think that poetry exists in the body. You know, when you're reading poetry, it exists. I mean, it exists on the page, but it exists in your ear. It exists in your mind, and I think that it also exists. You know, it's physical as well as being mental.
There's nothing more fundamental to being alive than the breath.
Exactly. There's breath, there's music. So I think that in response also to your earlier question, I think that space on the page and line break can do a lot of work to help build that momentum and to guide the reader through how I'm reading the poem and experiencing the poem. And even if, you know, you're not viewers, you're feeling it differently, that's okay, you know, because it exists. It's a very physical thing.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay,
It helps.
cool.
And I would add on, like, for those of you who are like, what does this have to do with fucking pop culture and blah, 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 right? I would say this is where poetry and lyric writing, right, and pop culture really intersect because people forget that poetry is first and foremost a spoken art and it's an oral storytelling art that comes out of the breath. Yeah. And that's part of why I'm so fascinated about how you pulled this off. Because I would say this is like actually stylistically, for those of you newer to poetry, this epitomizes the style of print poetry in many ways, right? But then when you perform it, it epitomizes performance poetry. Sure. So it's making those two worlds meet. And that's where the overlap happens when you bring the body into it and have it create the music or the cadence, right, through breathing. It also overlaps with dance really well then, like, because that's how you would move to it. There'd be another fun vlog in the future, maybe with Naomi, one of my mentors. But, all right, cool. How are we doing on time? We are at 3% battery with 2 minutes left. All right, read an excerpt from the poet you want to read from and explain why you're so stoked on it.
Okay, I will read a short moment from section 9 of Inger Christensen's Alphabet, which is an incredible book. It is this litany of things that exist in the world, both good things, bad things, natural things, man-made things, and I won't say more, but there's history, there's science, there's math involved. So if those are more your cups of tea, I would still check this out.
Students, pay attention.
Read this. So I will just read this opening to section 9, which I think also maybe gives a bit of rhythm work that you'd be interested in.
Cool.
Ice ages exist. Ice ages exist. Ice of polar seas, kingfisher's ice. Cicadas exist. Chicory, chromium, and chrome yellow irises or blue. Oxygen especially. Ice flows of polar seas also exist, and polar bears, stamped like furs with their identification numbers, condemned to their lives. The kingfisher's mini plunge into blue frozen March streams exist, if streams exist, if oxygen in streams exist, especially oxygen, especially where cicadas' eye sounds exist, especially where the chicory sky, like bluing dissolving in water, exists, the chrome yellow sun, especially oxygen, indeed it will exist, indeed we will exist, the oxygen we inhale will exist. And I'll stop there because otherwise it keeps going.
I'm like, yes, this is actually perfectly in line with what we were talking about.
It's good.
This is what happens when Abby and I hang out. We're like, oh my God, we're driving. All right.
Yes.
Very cool. So a couple quick links for you. I'm going to have a link to Abby's website because Abby's on top of her shit and has a website, so you can check out all of her work. I promise you this manuscript's going to be forthcoming in several years at minimum. I'm really excited about it. It's incredible. Truly. So check out her published work where you can. And then I'm also going to note down for you what she just read from. In addition to that, we have our podcast going now. Abby, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to have you read the 2-minute poem for tomorrow by finishing reading this poem. So if you're like, oh man, I was digging that poem, don't shut up now, you can tune into the podcast in the morning and hear the rest of it.
Thanks.
Right?
Let's do it.
Abby generously gave me a free PDF, which I don't think is copyright-wise circulatable on YouTube. Probably not. So I'm going to tell you about the book, and you can go find it.
At Open Books. Go to Open Books
there
and
we
find
go.
this book.
Plug for Open Books. I'll also put a link there.
Great.
And we are over the 20-minute mark. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember to follow on Twitter or hit me up there if you have suggestions, comments, disagreements. I love disagreements. If you're like, what's your personal life like? Hit up the Instagram. If you're like, what are you doing in the world? Hit up the website. Tune into the podcast if you're like, why the fuck would I watch your face for like 20 minutes straight? Cool. Reasonable.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Abby. I'll see y'all later. Bye.